Once again, I want to thank Southern California Edison for sponsoring this forum. Okay, and I bring to you Christian Nelson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This might sound a little familiar. Our assembly candidates, thank you for participating in this forum sponsored by the Rancho Cucamonga Chamber of Commerce and Southern California Edison. The format for this forum will be as follows. There will be a 3-minute candidate introduction, personal background prior to questions and answers. There will be an individual in front of the candidate's stage with a 1-minute, 30, and 15-second card and a stop card. Please adhere to the time allotted as this forum is being taped for broadcast during the month of October. Again, proper decorum will be expected and outbursts will not be tolerated. The candidates are seated. They don't have to randomly draw their seating positions again. All questions have been received from Rancho Cucamonga Chamber of Commerce members. The following questions after that will be randomly drawn, and the assembly candidates will have 3 minutes to respond to them, or they may opt to choose to rebut the answer given prior. Each candidate will answer 3 questions. After each candidate has had an opportunity to address the questions, we'll then return to closing remarks, which will be 2 minutes apiece. During the segment, there will be 2 time card checks, a 30-second and a 15-second, and a stop. We ask that each candidate adhere to the time allotment. So we had a coin toss at the beginning, and it was opted that Assemblyman Morell will give our first opening remarks of 3 minutes.
Thank you to the Chamber for putting us on and keeping us informed, and I'm certainly grateful to be here. I was in Sacramento pretty much January through the end of August, and I'm definitely glad to be out of there and back here where the folks are normal, you know. And I have a deep appreciation for the Inland Empire more now than ever, and of course it's great to be home with my wife and my family. And if Joni could stand up, we just celebrated our anniversary of 35 years. I just celebrated, yeah, anyway, on the 17th. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
And together we have 3 kids, and I own, I've either been self-employed or 1099 commission sales since day one, since I was about 20 years old. So you're looking at about 38, 39 years that I've been in business. Still can't hear. Okay, how's that? Anyway, you're looking at about 39 years that I've been self-employed or 1099 commission sales. But one of the things is I've wanted to be a public servant to serve, and it stems from probably my father. He was very patriotic. He served in World War II on an island called Guadalcanal. And I remember when I was 16 years old and I thought I had all the answers to the world, I asked him, hey, Dad, why didn't you just wait and volunteer? Why, you know, or why didn't you just wait to be called? Why did you volunteer? And he said, that's what men do who love their country, you know. And so I think I've picked up on a lot of that. It's now in my DNA, and I do love my country. So once our kids were old enough and out of the house, Joni and I made the decision I wanted to give this a shot and run to be able to serve our state. I understand business really well, and I understand some of those complex problems. I've enjoyed reading about the founding principles, so I know there's economic decisions we have to make, political as well as moral ones, and those are the areas that I feel like I'm good at. But one thing, I don't have all the answers, but some of the things I've learned along the way is when I was first, my day on the job, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal asking various governors of different states, what is your economic strategy for your states? And they said, we're going to go and raid California of its jobs and the economy because we tax too much and we regulate too much. And just one thing I want to show you that I printed out for you guys today. Speaking of regulation, I brought this. There's what I found, because one of the things I want to do is eliminate a whole lot of these regulations. And what you have is you have almost 600, you have 580 regulations here. And I'd like you to know that in California, we do not duplicate services, we triplicate them. Just right now. So one of the things my challenge is to reduce some of these so that we can restore the money and return the money back to our local municipalities, because I think people here...
Assemblyman, thank you. That's our time.
Managing our money.
And Mr. Warner, your 3-minute opening.
Well, I've also am a small businessman, and I moved here in Rancho Cucamonga almost 30 years ago. I've been married to my wonderful wife, Chris, for 40 years. I have 3 sons. Adam and Matt are twins, and Greg, I'm very proud of him. He volunteered for Iraq. He served there 17 months and came home. And because of him, he inspired me to run for public office. And that's why I'm here today, not to go to Sacramento to enrich myself or for my own needs, but basically to help everyone. I know what my job is when I get to Sacramento. My job is to make sure that every person and every child has the same level playing field that I did while I was growing up, so they too can achieve the California dream, the American dream. I've worked hard my whole life. I started my business from the ground up. I worked 17, 18, 19 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week for over 10 years. I know what it's like to start a business. It's not easy. And we do have too many regulations. And that's why when I get to Sacramento, I'm going to work closely with Cal Chamber to make certain that we can change some of those laws to make it easier for us. It's important, the small business, small family businesses. We're the foundation of the entire economy. It's about Main Street. It's about all those businesses that we have here, not only in Rancho Cucamonga, but throughout San Bernardino County. And I'm going to work diligently to reach across the party lines to make sure that the laws are passed and the bills are passed so that we can all live a better life. It's not going to be easy, but I know for a fact that it can be done. And I'm the person that's going to be able to do it because I need to do it. We have to do it. And it's about all of us. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our question and answer part. Mr. Warner, you'll actually receive the first question that I'm drawing now. In what way or ways exactly do you feel you are better suited for the office than your opponent?
Well, I've never been elected, but of course Mike's only been there for 2 years, so it's a learning curve. But I also, as I said earlier, I know what it's like to start a small business. I know what it's like to work hard. I know what it's like to struggle. I was born into a poor family. We worked hard. We became lower middle class in 1967. My dad was incredibly proud, and we had to put up with him for 3 or 4 weeks. But that's the way it is. This is about giving everyone opportunities. This is about taking my life experience and taking it to Sacramento to make certain that we're not taken advantage of here in San Bernardino County. We have everything we need right here in San Bernardino County to actually make this the template for the state, if not the entire country, in job creation. We have the infrastructure. We have the universities. We have the freeway system. We have the 2 airports. We have blue-collar workers and white-collar workers. We have so much that we can do here, but no one's been marketing this county properly. The different chambers of commerce have all been working hard, but for their own needs. We need a county chamber of commerce. I really believe that. And by doing that, we can coordinate our efforts and market this county for jobs and bring jobs not just from Northern California, but from across the country, if not the entire world. We have it all right here. And when I get to Sacramento, I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure that we have those jobs here. The one thing that we need to do, we need local control over the Ontario International Airport. We need it now. I am sick and tired of Los Angeles dictating our economic future and our failure. That's 9,200 jobs. We get local control, and I believe that we'll be able to create another 7,000 or 8,000 jobs on top of that. That's why I'm running, and that's why I'm going to need all your help and your support. So just think about it. This is a time in our lives that we need to work together and stick together as a community. Thank you.
Assemblyman Morell, the next question. Public opinion and perception of elected officials are at an all-time low. What will you do to reinstill the confidence of our public?
Yeah, I think it is at an all-time low. And one of the things I have been doing, I've been consistent. I've kept my word from day one. I've made myself available to my constituents. I have an open door policy. I've met with hundreds of people whenever I have a chance in the district. I have worked with the chambers. In fact, on October the 11th, we're trying to, your idea I think is really good, Russ. What we've done together is we are bringing the chambers together, still independently, but sort of as one. We're having our top chamber business awards to acknowledge those companies that are succeeding during very difficult times, and it's an encouragement for them, but also it's a way to encourage some of the companies that are struggling, but also it helps us to come together as the Inland Empire is sort of one business community. Also, I think you know, you need to be a man of your word. Sometimes politicians will say things like, I'm positively for it and definitely against it. I haven't done that, and I attend many of the events here whenever I can be in the district. Another thing, too, I think where some credibility comes is owning my own business, but before that I also served in our community, not just on charitable boards like the YMCA, but also many businesses have had me consult as their business consultant, as well as many professional organizations, or UC Riverside, the Gary Anderson School of Business had me working on their business advisory board. And so you know, those are things that I think bring credibility when you're here to serve the citizens, but also working, again, to bring people together. But also I've had business forums. I've taken business owners, manufacturers, realtors, insurance brokers up to Sacramento to testify that in California we've now fallen to the 50th worst state to do business in, according to the top 500 CEOs out of Forbes magazine. And so, you know, I've been making the case that we have to reduce these 580 regulations. Plus, another thing, too, I've introduced bills, not just to help corporations or other people, but to help citizens. And one of those bills that we did is I introduced a bill, and it was to, anytime we get a budget vote, that budget vote has to go online 72 hours online for public viewing. Right now, my last budget bill I got from our friends across the aisle, when we were going to vote on that budget, it was when we were on the floor. And I think that's despicable. It's wrong. And even though my bill did not get passed this year, I believe it will next year, because the public should have access to your tax dollars, to how we're spending it. And that's a huge step in restoring credibility back to the citizens that vote us in. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Warner, our next question. What would you do to encourage tax-generating businesses and developments?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do, and I honestly believe this, I gave a speech, I believe it was in Redlands, where I talked about small business and Main Street, and how small businesses should have the same tax advantages as any large corporation here in California. And that's why we need to get me up to Sacramento. I need to get in there, because I know as a small businessman that a few $1,000s a year can go a long, long way. We need to make a more business-friendly environment here in California. We do have a bad reputation, but at the very same time, we have to watch certain issues, such as the environment. Here in San Bernardino County, we have one of the worst air quality standards in the entire state. So I believe that we need to protect that and do business at the same time, but also it is incredibly important that small businesses, again, they are the foundation of our economy. And here in California, there are over 600,000 businesses, small businesses. By giving them the tax advantages that a large corporation would have, I believe that you'd be able to hire the equivalent of one person for every business we have here. That's 600,000 employees. That's a tax-based increase of over $5 to $6 billion. And that's what we have to do. And I can tell you we're going to do it. We're going to stay together, and we're going to work as hard as we can. It's not easy, though. Thank you.
Assemblyman Morell, the next question is, what do you plan to do to create new jobs?
Well, what I have been doing is working, first of all, three things that businesses need. Top businesses in America say, number one, we need certainty. You can't be playing a baseball game and then change the rules in the middle of a baseball game. So number one, certainty. Number two, you have to do reduce regulations. Number three, you have to reduce taxes in California. We have a lot of revenue coming in, but we mismanage it. And then unfortunately, my friends in the other party decide to cut education and safety when there's so many other places where we can be more efficient. So that's what we have to do. You know, the governor of Texas, Rick Perry, has this walnut box that he sends to CEOs in California. And it has the governor's stamp seal on it. And when you open it up, there's a cell phone in there with one number. And the number is his cell phone. And you call it, and he'll say, hey, I'd love to talk to you about your business coming to Texas. We don't have state taxes. We're going to reduce regulation. Oh, by the way, so I understand the city of Los Angeles, you've been trying to get a permit for 2 years to expand your business, to hire, to create jobs. I can have your permit by 3:30 this afternoon. I mean, that's why Texas has created 41% of the nation's jobs since 2008, since the Great Recession. And when you look at the top 20 states, they're following that same model of reducing regulation and reducing taxes. And that's the three things we have to do: certainty, reduce taxes, cut regulation, because it's ridiculous. We're even, in this last session, I was on the Labor Committee, we, not me specifically, but the legislature passed a lot of unionized babysitters, who works out of their home. I mean, every industry seems to be getting hit: the agriculture industry, the finance industry, the manufacturers, and people are voting with their feet. Right now, we're losing citizens, even here in the city of Rancho Cucamonga, our schools. We're losing students. And again, people are going to go where there's opportunity. California is still the greatest state. We have some of the best weather in the world. We've got 5 deep water seaports for trade. We're blessed with the Silicon Valley, and over the hill from there we have the San Joaquin Valley, which produces over $32 billion a year in agriculture. So it's the best state, but what's killing us is regulation, and that's what I hammer home all the time, is to reduce regulation. And I did get 3 good bills passed last year. Though I'm a Republican, it was one of the few bills in the entire state assembly that actually reduced regulation, and at the same time it saved money for taxpayers. So I'm chipping away at the base, doing a good job. I'm producing results, and that's why the Inland Valley Taxpayers Association has endorsed me, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the California Small Businesses, and that's why I think I have overwhelming support from our business committee.
Thank you.
Community. Thank you.
And Mr. Warner, how do you propose to address the economy as we move forward?
Oh, well, the economy is weak. I mean, I can tell you from my own experience that my business dropped 40% with the recession, and it's been a real struggle to come back, and we have to work as hard as we can. But as I said earlier, to address the economy, we're being hurt out here because of the monopoly that Los Angeles has over the Southern California airports. And that's 9,200 jobs. And if we get the airport up to full status, we're going to get between 13 and 14 million passengers a year. So you're looking at doubling that, actually, by the time we're done. That's 18,000 jobs, not all at the airport, but you're talking restaurants, you're talking gas stations, hairdressers. It's all out there. And we're going to have to really just stop and think outside the box for once. We really have to start doing that, because job creation is the one thing that we can do. And the one thing we can also do is make sure that our educational facilities are used properly. As an example, the CSI lab, I would love to see it move to Cal State San Bernardino and set up also as a classroom for young men and women from this area. To graduate 40 or 50 or 60 young men or women every year, that would be a great benefit, not just here in San Bernardino County, but throughout California, if not the entire country. I've been an advocate of that, and I think we have to start thinking in those terms of education as well. That the economy is going to take a little while to get going. Housing is a big problem out here. We had so many foreclosures that it was just a nightmare for many people. And I still feel sorry for those people who were foreclosed upon. But it's getting better. But it's not going to get better unless we work together. Unless you elect someone who's willing to reach across the aisle to get things done and to get bills passed that are going to make a difference. Mr. Morell just said that he passed 3 bills in his first year, I believe it was, or his first year and a half. Well, I can tell you that Senator Bob Dutton, in his same year, as a freshman, passed 9 bills, and it was the same type of assembly setup, but he was willing to reach across the aisle. Senator Bill Emerson, his first year as a freshman assembly member, passed 13 bills. So we need to get someone to Sacramento who's going to be able to work with Democrats and Republicans and bring it all together so that we're going to be able to prosper. We have great communities here. Rancho Cucamonga is my hometown. This is where I lived for 30 years. San Bernardino County is my backyard. I love living here, and I want to make it the best place to live for everyone. Thank you.
Assemblyman, you choose to rebut that answer instead of another question?
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I mentioned in count of all this legislation, remember the founders talked about limiting government's power. I mean, guys vote bills. They're absolutely ridiculous. 2,400 bills for the state assembly, another 1,500 for the Senate. You're pushing 4,000 or 5,000 bills this year. The last week of session, we had over 600 bills. I mean, look, a lot of people pass bills that I've seen where it changes a paragraph on a bill for the water district. I promised everyone in here I would only do bills that are strategic and intentionally, not just to pass bills so I have my name on it. All the bills that I got passed through are pretty much things that reduce government and at the same time save taxpayers money. I was effective and strategic, guys. So it's not about quantity, it's about quality, and it's about limiting government's power. If anything, I'd like to see us reduce some of these regulations and take some of these ridiculous bills away, like unionizing babysitters or anything like that. And so far as reaching across the aisle, I was probably one of the only Republicans that got a bill through across the other side of the aisle where we actually reduced government. That's strong, guys. And that's why I was fortunate my first year and humbled to say that the Republican caucus appointed me into leadership as whip. And I didn't know what that meant, but they said you need to whip people in the line. So such a nice guy, too, you know. But I take that very serious, and so you were wrong when you said, by the way. I was effective. Thank you, guys.
That concludes the question and answer portion. We'll move into our closing remarks. Mr. Warner, you're first with your 2-minute closing.
Again, this is my home, Rancho Cucamonga. San Bernardino County is my backyard. I love living here. My children have all gone to the public school systems. My family has gone through an awful lot like many of the families here. There's been good times and there's been bad times, and right now we're in an era of not so good times. But in order for us to get things done, we really do have to start working together. We have to bring the Chamber of Commerce's together as one marketing tool. And one of the things I intend to do when I'm elected to the State Assembly is to bring someone into the Assembly office who will be able to work with the different chambers of commerce, the industry leaders, and those businesses here throughout San Bernardino County. We can do this. We have to do it, and I know how to do it. And I can say that because I've started hundreds of small businesses. My background as a small businessman, I started in a very humble way, and I created the 5th largest brokerage firm for magazine publishers in the country. I compete directly with Time Warner and Hearst magazines for newsstand distribution like you find in Vons and Ralph's. We also do international, and I've traveled all over the world. I've been to Africa and Europe, and I've seen the difference. When I was in Germany, I was told that their unemployment rate was only 3.5%. Their #1 product they export is manufactured goods. Why are we not doing it here? Part of the reason is large corporations are too greedy, and small businesses are being hurt, and we need to strengthen those small businesses. And let's hope that one day that one of those businesses become the next Google or Microsoft. And may we never forget that Walmart started off as a small family business, as Costco did. Thank you.
My turn?
Morell, your 2-minute closing.
Well, again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking time out this evening. My friend said what he intends to do, and I believe he's well-intentioned, but I have been doing these things. I have been bringing the chambers together. Everybody who works with the chamber can testify to that. Every major business group has endorsed me because they have seen, for the short time I've been in office, I've been strategic, intentional, and effective, and have been producing results, which has been a good thing. Plus, I do look at these reports on who gives him money and who gives me money, and you know, I'm fortunate to have about a 12-to-1 ratio of business owners in the local community here who are coming my way. And so I think the reason why is when they put their support behind you, they believe in you, that you are going to produce results. And again, myself, like Russ, we're both pushing about 40 years in business. You know, you learn a lot through osmosis through that. And so I, like Russ, am committed. I think we both love our country and our community. And I would just be grateful if you would take a look and see what I have been doing, the results I've been producing, and then I hope you'll, again, vote for me on November 6th. I am committed to restoring California and then hopefully America. We have a big job to do. This is one of the first generations where our kids have a $16 trillion deficit. It's not what fathers and mothers are supposed to do. We're supposed to leave our kids an inheritance for the future, and that's one of the reasons I got together and I decided to run. Is I figure I can't save the world, but if I can help California remove its $16 billion deficit and leave some opportunity for the next generation, my kids, the three we brought into the world, that would be my greatest goal that I have. So with that, I want to thank you, and I'll be around to answer any of your questions afterwards. Thank you, guys.
That concludes the Rancho Cucamonga Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for State Assembly.